So, and I know this simply because the code enforcement officer in Belgrade also served as the code enforcement officer in Sydney, and so we talked with him when Belgrade was developing its warrant ordinance. It never really came into play in any way or so, other than it just established the public forum.
It's fine. I just didn't want it to go undiscussed. So, do we keep it? I'd say we get rid of it. Okay. Just, yeah, that makes sense. Strike it.
So you can see in the next section, mooring field regulations, there's lots of highlighted areas there simply because they weren't really, I mean, we talked about having these sort of dimensions, but never talked about what the actual dimensions themselves would be.
So just a question, the way this is worded must be approved by the town council. Then does that mean the existing mooring field in Maranicook would have to come for approval?
In my mind, yes.
Sorry, can I be? Then who is the applicant?
Well, in that instance, it could be someone who's currently using that mooring field. Or because it's a specific, it's its own special case, maybe the town itself just fills out the application to create the mooring field.
Because earlier in these regulations, you have to have public access. Right, that's the criteria to a mooring field. Where is the public access? In the field here.
Summer Street, Norcross Point. The Summer Street stretches right down to the AMI parking lot.
Right.
The AMI parking lot was always open to public use through the owner, and Vandermoen had a sign up down there that said, use at your own risk, just keep it clean, and he welcomed everybody to use it.
But does that meet the definition of public access?
Well, Summer Street certainly does, and Norcross Point.
Yeah, I would say in that instance, you know, the boat ramp, the docks, you could use either one of those to get out to the mooring field yourself.
Yeah,
But they would still have to apply, or someone would have to apply.
In my mind, that field would have to be formally created, just like other fields.
in my mind, those moorings, should be grandfathered.
I agree with that as well.
Man, that was a major portion of our legal struggle with the town of Winthrop. And I know that doesn't apply to what we're doing.
No, well, I kind of disagree with you, Mike, because I think that would be the first rattle out of the box, obviously.
Yeah,
But in my mind, you would have to formally create the mooring field.
yeah,
And it would be based on people who have historically used it as being the first applicants. Then whatever other spaces are available, then, you know, we have a sort of a process of drawing a lottery, whatever you want to call it, in order
so
to
we're
fill any remaining
talking about
spaces.
waiting lists and registrations of those moorings, and
Yeah.
that obviously would happen. I thought too about establishing an association to protect, not just to protect, but to help with watershed district or, you know, just relationship between the mooring field and the town of Winthrop. There are several where that applies as well. Yeah, I don't think there's any of applying for the mooring field, but I also think that it is too grandfathered in that area, because those moorings are all legally placed in a state of
Well, and I think in almost every case where there's gonna be an application, there'll be boats already there, and I think that's a part of, we'll get to it later, but I think in section 9, the grandfathering and discontinuance, I think we changed that language to make it more broad to the applicants to come with a list of current current moored boats who would be grandfathered upon the approval of the mooring field. For every mooring field in the future, that way that doesn't happen to. They go. And that actually probably prevents the requirement for the 10% being out of town. You could just skip those 12 people or 13 people right off the bat, and then as they fall off, then you have to have the town opened up first.
Right, and that mooring wouldn't be filled until somebody applies for it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know if I have an answer on the where to fill in the yellow, Anthony, especially on the distances yet. My first thought though was on subsection F. I'm not sure how comfortable I am with having to pay a fee to create a mooring field, only because we're asking for this to create a public use enforced by the town. And it would be hard for me to justify paying the town a fee of even $10 if it means that the entire town can use it. So you're using something for the public's benefit. I understand the fee for actually using the individual moorings, but I don't know if the actual mooring field creation application should be a paid process.
Well, the only reason I suggest that, Matt, is just to recover administrative costs, because it is gonna take staff members' time to vet the application, bring it to the town council for their consideration. And so most anytime you apply to do something with the town, you pay some sort of administrative fee.
Is there an example though where there's I'm trying to think of an example of something similar to this, where it's a use where the entire public has the ability to use it?
So this may be a bit of a stretch, but let's just say, a new restaurant opens up in town, and they're gonna serve alcohol, and they've gotta apply for a liquor license. And they pay a fee of $250 to the town when they apply for their liquor license, and that's strictly just to cover administrative costs.
I think if you charge a fee as well, it will prevent people frivolous application fees. You know, yeah, okay, I'll send something if I don't have to pay, but if I have to pay something, you think twice.
What would the formation of a mooring field look like? Like if there was just somebody that was using Annabeth for fishing, they're down there every week, and if they want to leave the boat in the water. They apply for a mooring permit, but they're not necessarily a mooring field at that point. How does this begin? Do they have to form a mooring field to apply for?
Yeah, I think part of the application process is they're going to have to propose where the mooring field would be, what its dimensions are going to be, you know, so forth and so on. So I just view that as part of the application process. And to speak to these highlighted yellow areas, we don't have to fill these in today, but at some point, if this is the language we want to use, you know, the group's going to have to make some decisions on dimensions and numbers.
I was told that the, no closer than 20 feet to the high water mark, the shore. Just to speak to the first one, man.
I was gonna say, you wanna put your boat 5 feet from shore?
No,
Right.
yeah, right.
It's gonna get a lot of damage.
But
I think- I think somewhere else it said within, not closer than 25 feet. I can't remember where that was, but
Can't be that close, just for loaded purposes. Well, I think I'm reading something.
I've read it somewhere.
Out, can't be out 20 feet, but can't be out further than 200 feet.
Right.
which is interesting, I used to tie my boat right to the dock,
Yeah,
which is only 15 feet out.
you can slap away out there.
Right. That's the dog.
I know, yeah, but
Not even a mooring.
The valid.
The loophole.
just mandate everybody to put their boat to the dock.
Right.
So C was, C, item C in this section had some comment.
Yeah, so after one of our previous discussions about having a, 1.5 parking spots available per mooring, then, a reasonable walking distance. My question was simply that, should we quantify that? Because that's a pretty gray area, reasonable walking distance. So, should we say, and a half mile, 3/4 of a mile, a mile?
Question, are there any restrictions to the public parking associated with the beach?
So when I suggested a half mile, I was actually thinking of the south end of Moran Lake, because I would say easily within a half mile, you've got the municipal lot. You've got the American Legion parking spots. You've got the little parking lot at the boat ramp itself. And then you also have, parking at Bailey Library.
There's a parking all on Main Street. 2.5.
Yeah, true.
But are there
Any parking.
public parking spots? Is there a correlation between public parking near the beach with the beach? That are they reserved for swimming?
No.
No.
And to answer your question, Roy, if someone creates a mooring field on some other lake, we want to make sure that they're not like clogging up the roadway. And that,
We talked about the parking down at the Narrows, you know, and the fact that we'd never want a mooring field down there.
But there's also no public access.
There isn't.
There is, it's debatable. At the causeway, there is.
It's not clearly defined.
Causeway is, it's a no man's land.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I suppose, yeah. But the parking,
Parking,
you could up and down, because the parking's not available within a certain distance.
Yeah.
I think that helps. It helps it from, in bodies of water that don't make sense.
the reason I asked about the beach, because I think it's in Naples or Harrison, I think it's in Naples, similar situation, and they have a public parking area that's dedicated to the beach for swimmers. And they specifically discussed how they wanted to make sure there was sufficient parking for swimmers and not being consumed by the boat.
it's sort of an opposite situation here, because the American Legion would probably prefer there not be a lot of boat traffic. And there are a lot, especially if they have some event going on.
One, maybe a silly idea, but on a reasonable walking distance, I think there's a state requirement, a policy that allows schools to enforce, children walking to school within X amount of distance.
It's a mile.
If it's a mile, if we can expect children to walk to school under a mile, I think maybe we can do something on those lines. You could say it's a mile, it's the same as a kid walking to school, and use that as a definition.
I agree with that. It's good.
Okay, I'll change reasonable walking distance to 1 mile.
The only other question that I really had on, this section was on the next blue section, the mooring registration. Recommended and in the red, the proof of shorefront ownership or access by deed of written permission. I don't know if we need to have that in there, only because we're already requiring public access. I wouldn't want to make any confusion when it comes to an applicant that says, okay, I got this written permission. I don't need to go and do this, right? So maybe just delete that subsection B, but I like the rest of this. And then the other question is on the date. I like the June 30th date better than the 30th.
really interesting, because I would have thought most people would have already, wrapped up their born registration, but that's,
Right. What?
it's sort of halfway through summer.
That June 30th, the weekend before the 4th, why do you like that date?
So my thought process is the most challenging section here is gonna be the first year of the morning field. Because you're trying to figure out who's gonna be putting your votes in there. And then beyond that, it's all about re-registration. What I wanna do is I wanna protect them and make sure that they have the ability to register.
Oh, so they're still registered until June 30th?
They're registered until
I
June
see
30th
your
the
point.
following year. But, I'm open, I think it's just, I wanna protect the folks who have the votes there, make sure that there's absent-mindedness doesn't affect them and have vote the next year. But you're right, I mean.
And then, no, that does make more sense to me.
But you're right, June 30th, you're right, someone's starting down, so. Maybe it's just started, I don't know.
Hey, you guys are good with June 30th then? So also in the paragraph above that, this can speak to something throughout the ordinances. What do we want to call the enforcer of this ordinance? To me, harbor master is not quite the right term, since we don't actually have a harbor. I like the term that was used in the prior ordinance, mooring officer. I think that's good, and Matt actually said, I would like more discussion here with the team as to who can be the enforcer. Well, if the town manager has anything to say about it, it's gonna be the code enforcement officer, because now with some additions to our staff, I think that position has the bandwidth to take on this responsibility as well at no additional cost to the town.
If they call it an officer, do they get a badge?
We don't need them speaking about it.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
I spoke to State Harbor Master's office, and there isn't actually the term, this is an invented term, mooring officers was a term that the town council came up with, whoever wrote the ordinance. And they said the harbor master's office does not recognize the term mooring officer. I would prefer harbor master as it's a statewide term.
It's still go through that training,
They still have to go through the harbor
That's a
master
good point,
training.
yeah,
and I think,
yeah.
I think the lawyers will tell you, especially if you talk to them, they need to have that training that quantifies it. I think there's other towns, if you look on their state website, there's towns that don't even have bodies of water, they have them now. It's listed, and it's most of the code enforcement officers have taken this training, and that's, so they can enforce it under the certain state law, right?
A road by any other name. Well, Matt, did we address all the registration issues? So my talking about proof of shorefront ownership, right? So is that needed now? Since I've already said that at public access.
Yeah, I've already struck that.
Okay, all right.
So to speak to another point that you made, Matt, that the registration would be from, June 30th, 1 year to June 29th, the next year. Should we make clear in this? I think that we should, that the registration is for a year, that it's a year-long registration.
It's just like an ATV or snowmobile, registered until June, you're not riding it in June, but. June to June.
Yeah. Motorcycle. Registration.
I want to say, on January.
We're gonna put it out there. Let's get with it, a ballot.
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah.
So in the designated mooring zone, like section B is not applicable. That talks about specifically shorefront property only. 10 B.
Ten B, oh,
The first B.
the first B.
The first B, yeah, sorry,
Oh, okay.
yes.
So do I think that should be struck?
If we're talking about mooring fields, this is more specific to a shorefront property owner.
It says it must be publicly accessible.
And no more than one mooring per 80 feet of shorefront should be allowed in the designated mooring area.
Okay.
Looking at it.
And
Mooring, yeah, yeah. Oh, no one, it's. No, it's not, it's designated mooring. Yeah. This is the one that I received from you.
I think that may have been an early iteration before we had all four different colors and the one that we're working on right now.
I do have one registration. You can see right here.
Because I'm not seeing
This
it.
is the email you sent me.
Let me look real quick.
Oh. Tough nut to follow.
What, this is the one I sent out this morning?
No, that was one you sent out, previous to that. You had sent one out,
It was on Saturday.
yes. Yeah. Yes, it was on a Saturday, right? Yes, you had said you were busily, working.
Oh, yeah.
During the storm.
Yeah.
So that's the one I printed off of that.
Send Dwight a different one.
Yeah.
I don't know, I can't, honestly, I can't explain.
Something on a different one. Your mooring registration, have a, for A, B.
Yeah, okay, so you're down at designated mooring. Okay, so you're down here.
But you see, these here is red, but we don't have the red.
But there's no,
Under, Mike, here.
there's no red and no designated mooring. Yeah, that did not land on the one you sent today.
Let me go back to work.
A, yeah, A, B, right here, A, B, C, D, E, F. B is 10, you get it on B, so yeah, the B and C are the red ones that are in, not in, maybe a later top. Maybe you added it to your home top.
I know.
Well, the good news is you said you don't need it, right?
Yes. Both B and C we don't use.
Oh, okay, well then probably.
Right. And then that goes.
And then we go right to floats.
We have swim floats.
Swim floats
And then wait,
waivers.
and then wait, yeah, so the swim float for similar use will not be allowed in any designated mooring area? Is that what we got?
Yeah, that's what we were hoping for.
Yeah, that makes sense. But how does somebody like Barb's property? I mean, can she put a swim float in?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, be able to.
But would that not infringe on the mooring field?
No,
No. It's not even that close, but the only thing is make a copy, but that's something that they have to discuss in the navigation, who's coming in with the office.
But this is very specific, it says, shall not be allowed in the designated mooring area.
Yeah,
So you've got to be very specific to say the mooring area is
define.
100 feet from shore or wherever, in front of those people that they. they're allowed to
Get
put out.
those GPS coordinates. go up
I think,
at the bottom.
I think Lynn suggested, she said, I'll help you or whatever, when the lake freeze is over and it's time to go out, we can go out and measure now when we can walk across and
Right.
it gets accurate.
Right, because I think Barb said there were 2 properties in that area.
There
Private
are
property.
properties.
Right. So we should allow them to have swim floats.
Sure.
If they want.
Yeah.
And I think they do have more in there now. I
They've
don't
got-
know how far that's from, but
Bob, do you have a dog?
No,
You don't. Your neighbor has a dog.
yes.
yes, you should get absolutely more in there, some boat, whatever you like out, kind of a property.
Yeah.
To enjoy. Guys, just a clerical thing. B, I think it's on the rule. Says page 30, Anthony, maybe just you can change that to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it said June 30th.
I know you guys probably not there yet, maybe I'm reading that.
No, you're behind. We already covered that. I don't know where you went.
I'm reading the same document you guys got, but I'm all over the back yet.
You on the red feed?
You guys propose for the abandonment. For the removal, just have. However, that is schedule something, that's something we all do it.
I would, I guess, defer to you on how you want that.
I would, I put them in and out many times, I would just get volunteers, I would be happy if I saw one that was abandoned or didn't belong there, I'd happy to.
Yeah.
Have them inquire with the group. Help pull it out, it's just for the safety of the lake, let me just have it, I mean, I don't want to be littered with a lot of littered with empty tackle, that's not being used, so. That would be my, if somebody came up to me, hey, Jim, can you give us a hand, I find somebody, if I didn't have to meet, but 5 cents, get it out.
Yeah.
I would defer to the town on how to best do that if that's.
Yeah.
Having to walk on the street.
I think that's fair, just like anything else, I guess, probably. If we do, people get things removed, let's go to the harbor master, facilitate how to get it removed.
We have in here talking about recovering trees
Yes.
anyways, and so that's the key.
Yeah, it's just perfectly fine. Those are hard to probably reclaim, but
I doubt you get it, but yeah.
correct, but I'm happy to get, like I said, I've seen a couple out there that look abandoned, and I've often wondered if I don't have the authority to do it, but if somebody would grant say, yes, please do it, I feel easy to go there, a chain, pull it up on my pond, and get it out of there. Such as my section.
Claim it as my own.
So are we on to section 11? Which doesn't appear to be relevant. Talking about. This is different, no, I guess common access there.
Well, we can get rid of that, because remember.
That's what I'm saying, we get rid of the whole section, right?
Yes.
There we go.
And then that'll,
Dennis Miller, we
And,
did.
and I think, yeah, I think I removed that because I was reading that as like, someone with deeded access.
We're not even gonna go there.
No.
So then marinas is also, out. The second
Yeah,
item,
that's-
marinas is out.
Yeah.
That's, so then grandfathering and discontinuing.
And I do think we need to have, like I talked about, or, I think maybe as just the language be a little bit more, you take away, you also know in subsection A1, in this situation, I think you could probably replace this with grandfathering existing moorings at the effective date of a new ordinance or mooring field are grandfathered subject to these conditions. Or something along those lines, to make it more broad, so that as a new mooring field is in place, so that existing boats are grandfathered. To make it broad, so as each application comes through.
But what I heard earlier, this mooring field is going to have to apply based on these standards.
Correct, I just want to be sure, to not just for this one, but future mooring fields too. So when this one applies, I want to be sure the boats are there, are grandfathered. And then if another mooring field comes up, then there's the same situation, you don't get preference just for this.
But shouldn't any new mooring field be approved before boats are parked there? There shouldn't be any grandfathering, we're only dealing with.
Something that already pre-existing.
Something that's pre-existing, my thought would be that there is not going to be a new mooring field application unless there's an existing problem with boats. So I don't see a situation happening where you go to a cove, public access, and then no boats moored, and somebody comes and says, I want a mooring field. Because by law, they could just pop a mooring line down there and put a boat down.
Well, I'm thinking like, they talked about East Beach on Cobblestone. Yeah. And there were several out-of-state voters already with moorings there. So are they grandfathered?
Was that at the East Windsor Beach?
Yeah, that's very concerned about that.
With a new swim area there? I thought those moorings had been removed. Removed or moved.
But I can only go on what Larry was saying, that they've been moved out of this general swimming area, but they're still there.
Well, there.
I mean, there's no maximum out-of-state requirement. So I mean, I think you could justify and say, yes, they could be there.
So what, 10%?
Minimum is 10%, but there is no set maximum.
Correct. But you could set, you guys could set that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, then in that situation, how would you determine who out of state is the, yeah.
So this one here is essentially an after the fact, and I think we all recognize there'll be an after the fact application.
Right.
An after the fact application, should we have any other after the fact application?
Yeah, all that would word it.
I mean, that's what we're trying to prevent these mooring fields from popping up, right? Unless they're embedded through this
Yeah,
project.
down, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We're trying to prevent them from popping up.
So does somebody come out and say, well, we've been parking there, mooring here for the last 4 years. We've already established, a mooring, field, the same thing as Marana, but and we're not being able to do it after the fact.
Maybe that's where, establishing an association.
An application.
But they would still have to apply. And does one mooring constitute a mooring field?
Yeah, by definition, no. That's just a mooring.
The two moorings constitute a mooring field.
What that definition?
Yeah, it's, no.
Now we're talking.
Finds 200 feet out.
And all it says is with watercraft moored within this area. It doesn't provide for minimum length. Which maybe it should.
Something to think about.
But I think you guys are covering yourselves a little bit with the application, with the set it out
Right, but this still should be defined, you know,
Right.
because that's, you're gonna get that.
You get all kinds of applications that people are thinking they, apply for it, so you need a minimum number to define one. Very valid.
And likewise, how does that affect the one person that wants to moor near a public access? It's not a mooring field.
Right.
Is he able to just put in an application, or does he have to define and apply for a mooring field, thereby inviting others to moor their boats there?
Yeah, well, again, maybe it would help if we define a minimum number of boats that would, or watercraft that would constitute a mooring. I think two would be too few.
Does that limit my 20 more?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Because there's no public access to mine.
Right. If I can get that,
I should be able to put 20 more in.
Yep. Agreed. Then we have to follow that public access, it has to meet these certain number of things.
So in the mooring field regulations, still yet to be filled in, there is a sentence in paragraph B that says no more than X number of boats may moor in a public non-commercial mooring field through the designated with their town council. So, at some point, we will set a maximum number. And so maybe it also does make sense to say it's minimum number. We're not going to consider applications for 3 boats.
Right, but is the resident allowed to apply to put a mooring there without establishing a mooring field? If it's near public.
I don't think they would have to apply.
Right, the third guy would have to apply, but is he bound to contact the other 2 mooring owners to establish a mooring field?
That's a good point. If number 3 has to apply and he defines that area, or he or she defines that area, then those other 2 would have to capture it.
Or grandfather?
But they would have to be acknowledged they're in the mooring field. Right. So the onus then is, you're putting it on one person, the third guy that shows up.
Or an association.
Or former association,
Association gets formed to apply for the mooring field, that's what it.
form an LLC or whatever, a nonprofit or,
Yeah.
I don't know how you define it. The one I was telling Anthony about was, Sebago has a mooring club.
Yeah.
I think it's actually a corporation. I think they went corporation. And it includes certain areas. I think there's 3 or 4 areas that are included in it. And they have a set of bylaws and dues and they're just an entity that works with the town and the city and make sure everything's going to happen.
I got it.
Yeah.
What if I propose that you have to be a part of the application process to be grandfathered? And that would prevent just the third person coming in?
I think that's a really good idea, because that way that, put some stake in there, ownership into it, right?
Right.
For the application fee.
Then everybody's paying for it, everybody's doing, or something along those lines, and
So say that again.
so say there's 2 boats, and then the third one comes along, the third one says, okay, now we need a mooring field. Right now, it would be on the onus of the third person coming in to make this application. But then that begs the question, are the other 2 would be grandfathered, do they have to bear the cost of mooring application as well? What if, as a part of the application, if you want your grandfather status, you have to be a part of that application? Or have to be a part of the process?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's fair. More than fair. It's in the game.
Yeah, there's gonna be I think there's gonna have to be some edits to this after this is created, just because there's gonna be, whomever is the harbor master is gonna have to be, they'll be dealing with the people directly. And maybe the process at town council
But
It's like a public comment
they
period.
may have to vet it out, the town has to make that out the area, and bring it to town council, and town council, like our normal process, to approve it or not approve it.
Right,
So,
right.
but they, it's just like code enforcement does housing or building, they go to the planning board. You know, it's trying to meet the needs, right? So, but the application comes to Howard, that's the first thing off the view,
Right.
saying, hey, this is not, it doesn't meet the muster, and I'm sorry, but. Yeah, I think it's very valid, the two that were pre-existing that want to be considered grandfathered or they're gone. You can put their skin in the game, part of the application.
Right.
So it's something can be iterated as a whole.
Right. And then I guess the only possible downside is that if you find another person come in, you see 3 votes over there, and then you start this application, you don't inform them. Well, there's public announcement, I mean, there's.
Yes, there's always a, yeah.
Yeah, it has to come before the town council, and then at that point, they would have to be, everybody would have to be made aware.
Yeah.
So my plan is when we're done here tonight, maybe you'll have me do something like we just talked about. I'll send it back out to the group, say, hey, look this over, make sure I didn't miss anything before we send it to you.
Under the enforcement, are we under the enforcement violation section? Yeah. So obviously, the low hanging fruit is,
So let me, before we go there, we're gonna follow up question. So do we want to designate a minimum number of votes that constitute a mooring field?
We have to.
I think 3, I mean, I think you're right, 2 is too few, and perhaps 3 is, I think 3 is probably the number for now.
yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
So I can still get my 20, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly, it's your own property.
Doesn't affect the 20.
That's what I call the warden, you know.
Which is, because I inquired about that, the warden's going for it.
No. It's a agricultural,
No, no one wants to enforce it at the state level.
no, you're right, but the people that do write the laws and you have somebody enforcement, the boards have nothing to do with it, they said that meeting.
Well,
Department of Agriculture, Forestry, and another something associated with them, that he came in and spoke to us, that they do with force, or had the ability, so they,
Probably the Marine Patrol, Department of Marine Patrol or something
Yeah.
like that.
I think you guys are covering with the harbor master, he's gonna go through training, so he's gonna be able to enforce and have some guidelines to follow there.
So in that enforcement section, instead of mooring officer, change it to harbor.
Yeah, that's one of the, I'm gonna do a search and replace tomorrow to make sure it's harbor master throughout.
I did have a question on violations on subsection 2, talking about the dollar value, the civil penalty. Is there, I've never been a part of the civil penalties before in this sense. Is there I imagine at some point there's some sort of unrealistic burden on this. Is there an actual dollar value limit that you have it out at, or is this pretty standard, $105,000 per day?
Standard.
And that's just up to you for the enforcement? Like, how do you decide it's 100 versus 5,000? I got the big.
Depends on how old I am.
Okay, fair enough.
I honestly don't know. We probably, so any sort of enforcement action, Matthew, we'd be working with the town's attorney to help determine something like that. Like, what is reasonable that the courts aren't gonna, slap our hands. Okay.
So we put 1 and 2 redundant in that section. The blue.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just rewrites or alternate suggesting the 1 and 2.
Again, although one of them, it talks about if an illegally placed mooring is not removed. And I don't think we talked about anybody, that any illegally placed. I don't know if we need to be that specific, or just leave up to the harbor master, the
Yeah.
regulation.
I'd assume it's the harbor, so if this says within 10 days, then the harbor master will take it. Yeah, I think it's up to the harbor master.
But we don't have to carry that.
So you guys have lost me a little bit. We're looking at the blue tanks. Number
One and two, I think we can remove.
Remove both of those. That's,
I think so, yeah, because the harbor master has the ability to remove an illegal
Right.
mooring.
Field.
Yeah, I would actually ask your opinion or Anthony's opinion on who within the town government is best to see appeals. I mean, I like your opinion of the town manager gets the appeal and it goes to the council, but I don't know.
yeah, it's definitely not the zoning board of
Yeah.
appeals, even though the board of appeals is in their name, they deal with land use matters.
Right.
Not this, let me read another one. Yeah, I mean, I think, to me, that makes sense, so the harbor master is going to report to the town manager, because the town manager is the one appointing that person. So the appeal can go to that, and if someone doesn't like the ruling from the town manager, then they always have the right to appeal that to the town council.
So you think it should be the town council in this division? Would be the most
Only,
efficient?
only if someone is unhappy with the town manager's decision.
Is that typically how things go normally for other things that,
What does that process look like?
So, again, if I were the town manager in a position like that, I'd probably consult our attorney to say, hey, do I need to have like a formal hearing, and does it need to be public? And I don't know, so people can. And if it came to the town council, obviously that would be done during a public meeting in open session. Appeal to the town manager, I want the advice from the attorney.
Is it up to the person appealing to get that on the agenda to the town manager, or?
No, I think if the town manager issued a ruling that that person wasn't happy with, then I think it would be incumbent upon them to request of the town manager that be on the next agenda.
Can you just touch base with the attorney? It just sounds like there's a lot of inbreeding in that whole process.
Yeah, I can do that.
And then, so the town manager works with the town council. It just doesn't seem to be an independent third body to evaluate that appeal.
Let me just say the town council often disagrees with the town manager. Am I right, councilor?
this is correct.
But I'm just saying,
No, I understand. It may not look good, but I don't know sort of what independent body within town government
I know,
you would kick that to.
maybe us.
So, and, and eventually, if they didn't like the ruling from the town council, then they would just, take it to Superior Court.
I think that's probably, most of that stuff would head that way, wouldn't it? But I mean, it just seems like that's the natural path. The town manager makes a ruling and somebody hates it. People all come and say, hey, I'm gonna see the attorney. Try to upright it,
In your experience?
in my experience. Not that Anthony was really.
Just an editorial pet peeve. When you talk about appeals, there's a lot of references to all. And if you remove all the all, it still flows well.
Do we know?
You never find all. I think that's a bad school.
And I see there's the blue section too, I'm assuming that's an alternative.
Yeah, that, Matt, Steele had put that in as an alternative to the black section.
We don't have a board of selectmen.
No,
I think I'm okay with the original black outfit.
So remove the blue out of it. Now liability is that something we have to discuss in this? Or are we immune from? Any issues on Great Pond?
Yeah. Question for our attorney, so I'll ask him if he thinks that's necessary.
That would stay the same with, the last section. Severability.
I'll ask, but I think that's pretty standard, so that if, you know, one portion, if one paragraph of this gets struck down by the court or whatever, the whole ordinance.
We picked up, well, once again, I'm sure Mr. Wilson does the yeoman's level of work.
busy.
Why get paid the big bucks? All right, so as I said, what I'll do is I will work on this probably tomorrow and get it in as good a shape as I can. And what I've been doing all along is just striking through the parts that we're removing, just in case at some point, go, oh, no, you know what, instead we want that, so I'm just gonna leave it in that form of fashion. And I'll send it to you guys and take a look at it and, send it out tomorrow. And then I think we're really close to finish this well in advance of August.
We're doing other things in August. Oh, that.
Well, in that timeframe, that if we do finish up and can this be accelerated for the town council, do we have to wait for?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, once it's finished, we'll get it on and sure. Yeah, anything else, Barbara? Do you have anything else for us?
No, for some reason, the audio was, a lot more muffled. It was better when I was in Thailand. But so a lot of times you cut out and I didn't get everything you were saying. So I have a couple questions. I'll send it by email and clear it up.
Okay, like I said, Barb, I'll be sending out this working document, hopefully tomorrow. And then all responses are welcome. All right.
Yep.
All right. Ladies, gentlemen, we are adjourned.
That's doing great.
The other reason.
On recording?